It was me thinking, stupid boat trip, I'm going to miss the World Cup final. And I'm on a bus going up to the middle of the Panama Canal, and we've got the World Cup final on the telly in the bus. Everything's good. You look out the window, looking back, those are all the boats which are queuing up to go through the Panama Canal, or they've just been through the Panama Canal. And now we're on the causeway from Amador, heading back up towards Panama City. And you'll see as we come round effectively all the different shops and restaurants. I tried to get some food in earlier and couldn't. Everyone's serving just drinks, no food, which was unfortunate, but you can imagine it was fairly quiet on a Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. You wouldn't believe the number of people on the bus who have got an Argentina top on. Roll on Chunky. 2-0 still. Just leaving Panama City, and on the left hand side there's the port of Balboa. They seem to be offloading 40-foot equivalent units and 20-foot equivalent units, which is another thing I've learned about from a shipping container perspective. So you can see all the cranes over there, and then far in the background you can see the Bridge of the Americas. And that is the station, I believe it's the station anyway, for the Panama Canal Railway. And hopefully you'll see the train tracks just there. And so that is effectively something I'll try and get on tomorrow and get the train up to Canal. So we're just going past Pedro Miguel locks. You can see a very large boat ship in the background, and that's going through the Cocoli lock. And now you see here Clipper Moon, and that is just been tugboated into Pedro Miguel locks. Gives you an idea of the size of the boats. Sorry, ships, I should say ships, going through the canal. And safely doing another film, you'll just see up there the Centennial Bridge. One of 3 bridges over the Panama Canal. You've already seen Bridge of the Americas, Centennial Bridge, and the boringly named Atlantic Bridge. Just going through Parque Nacional Soberano, so probably just wasting my battery, just trying to give everyone an impression of how nasty some of the jungly undergrowth is. Imagine back in the day when you were trying to build a canal through this kind of jungle, and it would be fairly nasty. Just coming up to Gamboa. Yeah, you did get both of them. And I think we are now just crossing over the Chagres River and into the Panama Canal. And it's 2-2 in the football, and we've lost reception on the TV. We're just figuring out over the internet who scored, who's got the golden boot, who's got the golden ball. It's 2-2, and there's a couple from Argentina sat in front of me, looking fairly nervous. Just giving you a little bit of scale. You see a ship there coming down, and another ship in the distance. A very large crane. And we're now coming into the port of Gamboa, where we'll be getting on the boat. Just about to climb onto the Pacific Queen, Panama. This is the tour boat that takes us back to the Pacific, so heading from Gamboa that we're at the moment, and you can see the size of that beast coming down there. Methane Jane Elizabeth, so a lot of liquid natural gas goes through the Panama Canal, mostly from Houston or America, going across to Southeast Asia. So gives you a pretty good size. You imagine that that little tugboat's not doing all the work. That's a big boat ship, and that's heading back. That's the direction we're going back in. So Methane Jane Elizabeth again, so heading upstream. That's where it moves into Gatun Lake. So Gatun Lake is a man-made lake, or effectively built by the Gatun Dam, which effectively flooded a lot of the Panama Canal. So it's not all river, and it's not all canal. So the Gatun Lake effectively is where it goes into the Gatun Locks. Gatun Locks are the old locks, and there's the Agua Clara locks, which are the new sorry, distracted by a swallow, which are the new locks which take the larger ships. So that, I can imagine, Methane Jane Elizabeth is larger than the old locks. There was an expansion of the Panama Canal in 2017, which increased the size of the locks on the Panama Canal. So those locks have now grown from probably about 290 meters up to about 366. So that's a long par 4 in real language, and that would be an increase, probably a size of ship it would now take that probably couldn't have gone through the Panama Canal in the olden days. So as you see,
France.
Just heard that France have won the World Cup, so they've gone 3-2. Don't know whether that's next time or not, so they might not have won the World Cup, but the Argentinians.
8 minutes overtime. France scored. Messi missed with 90 seconds left. Had a shot on goal.
And it's all over. And the Argentinians have just found out that they've lost a 2-goal lead, and that Lionel Messi has missed in the last 90 seconds. So damn shame for the Argentinians, but what a beautiful day. Don't see that very often. A very large ship with 4 sails on it, the Wind Star. I haven't got any mobile data at the moment because it costs about £15 per megabyte, so probably not worth switching that on, but I'll look that up when we get back to the hotel. So the Wind Star.
And the little boat that's alongside of it is deploying a new pilot. They're changing pilots out.
So the guide is just telling us about their little boat on the side, switching out pilots. So unlike the Suez Canal, the pilot on the Suez Canal only advises. On the Panama Canal, the pilot actually takes control of the ship and will steer it all the way through the Panama Canal, and then hand it back once it's finished. So in Gamboa, this is where we just left from. This is effectively where the dredging division is based. Effectively, they are digging it out constantly to ensure that the canal stays at 74 feet deep all the way through. So imagine the size of that canal we're seeing. All of it is 74 feet deep and has to be maintained in that sort of depth all the way through those channels, just so nothing runs aground, like it did in Suez.
Oh, you know, the goalie would have had it.
The guy's got the
he tried to pull
World
it right
Cup
over
going on still. The original scores were a little bit premature. 3-2 was in extra time. It's gone to extra time. It's now in penalties, and Argentina are 2 up on penalties. Vamos Argentina. Yay! That's as good as over. Anyway, so we just have been missing, or nearly missed. I've just had my lunch. So this is effectively the Calibra cut. If I look down the canal, you can see a massive hill effectively that has been gouged out. Millions of tons worth of explosives to blow that up and create that gap. It used to be 300 feet wide. They've carried on widening it, and it's grown to 700 feet now. So constantly widening it, as we said before about the dredging. So massive undertaking. When this started, it was in the 1800s, so 1880 it started by the French, and 20,000 people roughly died as a result of malaria, yellow fever, industrial accidents. There was no health and safety in those days, so it was absolute carnage. The French ran out of money in 1889, and then it was taken over by the Americans in 1904. So the French by that stage had dug out 50 million cubic feet, I think. Sorry, the guy who's doing our guide is American, so he was giving us in old money rather than new money. But 50 million was dug out by the French, and then Lionel Messi has just won the World Cup. You can imagine that everyone's pretty happy about that. So back to the canal. Well played, Lionel. Greatest of all time. So as I was saying, 20,000 people died as a result of the French efforts, and probably another 5,000 died. Loads died when they were doing the railway. The key difference between the Americans and the French was that there was a lot better planning taking place by the Americans. So they had some chief engineers. There was a Goethals, who was the main engineer, and then there was also a chief sanitation officer who was responsible for cleaning up and getting rid of as many mosquitoes as possible. So had an amazing effect on the health and safety. Reducing mosquitoes effectively meant that there was no more yellow fever, and effectively eradicated most of the malaria. Obviously people still died from insect related diseases, but the Americans had that under control, and that was groundbreaking at the time to enable the work to be carried out safely. I'm waffling, so I'll stop for a bit.